The Fed makes its voice heard today, one day after the elections. Many expect that the Fed chairman, Ben Bernanke, will announce more stimulus for the economy. With me now is Alan Sinai. He's the chief global economist at Decision Economics in Boston, who has been a consultant to the Fed. So, Alan, if you were Ben Bernanke, what would you be thinking today?
I think tunnel vision. He's got a job to do. The economy is underperforming. The unemployment rate's way too high. And for one of those few times in our history, inflation's too low. So you've got to ease up more, and the only way to do it is to increase the size of the balance sheet. Go in there, buy more long-term treasuries, and try and keep interest rates as low as you can.
So they're going to do exactly what the markets want, right?
They certainly are. In fact, the markets are a friend of the Fed, because in doing this, the markets have already taken the dollar down, which is good for our exports later on. The stock market's gone up, which will help our economy in innumerable ways going forward. Interest rates are low, which is helping mortgage refinancing and everyone keep their costs down. And, you know,
right,
money is basically free. The borrowing costs are next to nothing.
Right. They are basically free. But, Alan, we just heard from Glenn Hubbard say that this is not going to be a silver bullet, though.
No, the Fed is only one part of what it takes for the economy to really get going again. A big part of it is what goes on in the private sector itself. And households still have a long way to go before they can really spend more, because they are deleveraging. Corporations are still cautious because sales aren't strong enough.
Right.
And the financial system is still compromised. So all of that, though, is healing. And the Fed's support in keeping monetary policy easy is absolutely essential at this point.
But don't you think, Alan, given the victories that we've seen of some of the Tea Party candidates who have been very critical of the Fed, that this is basically the last time you're going to see the Fed do anything of this magnitude, because they're going to feel the heat from Congress?
I think the heat from Congress is probably the same problem the Fed has. The economy is too weak, unemployment's too high, deficits are too high. Congress and the president need to go to work on that part of it. The Fed's job is to stay accommodative during that, and if all of that falls into place, we could have an extraordinary equity bull market in the United States.
Right, but what I'm driving at, though, is that, you know, you've had Tea Party candidates say abolish the Fed, we want more auditing of the Fed. That has to have some influence on how freely the Fed governors feel that they can move next time around.
You know, they're going to have to put that noise aside. I think what the Fed has to do is quite consistent with what politicians of all stripes would want to see happen. So I don't think there's an inconsistency there. It is the history of the Federal Reserve. It's the lack of supervision and regulation, the fact that it missed so much of the crisis,
right,
was late to the party. All of that is what is cooking in politics. And if the Fed keeps its eye on the ball and the economy cooperates, private sector gets better, they'll get out of this noose-like situation that comes from some parts of politics in terms of their independence.
Okay, so then is it possible then, Alan, that if the Fed moves and the economy continues on the path that it is now, even without help from Congress and the White House, we will see the jobless rate come down significantly?
No, the jobless rate will not come down significantly. It will come down some, because the power of what the Fed can do with this round of easing is not that great, and the lags are pretty long. So we wouldn't begin to see results until sometime next year. The fiscal side of the ledger and what has to come out of this next round of debate on the macro aspects of fiscal policy is a very big part of how the economy will and can do in 2011, 2012.
Okay.
That's a story to be written, and we don't know how that's going to come out.
We all definitely
wrapped
don't
up
know.
in politics.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly. I mean, that's the stimulus plan on the fiscal side is going to be the big unknown. Alan, thank you so much. Alan Sinai of Decision Economics joining me.